Hi guys, welcome to my Ultimate Gambit series where we are investigating some gambits with white and black. Some of them are obscure, some of them are sound. Last time we checked Smith-Morrow Gambit. So how to deal with the Smith-Morrow Gambit with black. So if you're a Slim player, please do go check it out. And this one I will be looking at a Gambit against the Caro-Kann defense, one of the most solid, hard to crack openings out there against 1e4. So the Caro-Kann starts after d5, and in this position, the main way to continue is e5, going for the advanced variation, or you can go for the boring dull exchange Caro, or you can play knight c3. So if you're for instance gotten even to chess and you struggle against the bloody Caro-Kann defense, this is a perfect weapon to punish all these guys, because like if you're like, let's say above like 2000 online chess rating, I don't see any way how they can deal with this gambit, because it's so powerful. And I also exclusively play this in online chess in faster time controls. And even if you're a stronger player, why are you watching me? And still I appreciate and thank you for being here. You can definitely try it, especially in bolt, for instance. It served me really well. I mean, I won, for instance, in chess.com. I just checked out of 57 games, I won like 43 with this gambit. So they were expecting us to take, and then we take, and then they play bishop f5, and then we go back. Something like this probably happens. And then h4 or h6, but I know there is this so-called alien gambit. Shout out to witty alien. I think that gambit goes something like this. I mean, they don't need to play h6 here, right? However, this move we're gonna play. We're not gonna take the pawn, guys. They were expecting us to take the pawn. Black players think, okay, I'll have my setup. You know, I will chill, take a sip from my tea, coffee, whatever. But this is the beginning of the pawn Hennig gambit. So we are sacrificing a pawn, but it is so dangerous to deal with this gambit if you are unprepared. And I would say, if you're not a Caro-Kann player and still a strong player, I don't think that you can find the refutation easily. So without further ado, let's dive into it. I will show how to deal with it in the last portion so that people don't watch it. So the mostly played move is knight f6, but before we knight f6, and then we play f3. And then they can play bishop f5, trying to hold on to that pawn. Some conservative Caro-Kann enjoyers might go for this, or if they take and then play knight f3. And then there are a couple of options that black can play. But before we dive into it, there's a really idiotic blunder after, for instance, bishop c4, they play e5. Well, I assume black players think that we play the fantasy variation of Caro-Kann. Starts after d5, we play f3, they take, and then black plays e5, I assume. And then the game continues. I think this one is a good move in this particular position. But they confuse, and then they play e5, which is actually horrendously bad move because of the simply animalistic queen h5, going for the scholar's mate. This is so disrespectful, playing queen h5, you know. but it is actually winning. We are threatening mate, and if they play g6, they lose the rook. Queen f6 we can take. On e4 something like queen g6, take, we take this pawn and we enjoy our position. Same with the queen e7, also defends the f7 pawn. I mean, we can take anyway, but I think we win this pawn and then the game continues, but we will have a pleasant position. So that's e5 is a huge blunder. Just saying, as faced very rarely, but it can happen in your game. So what else? Knight f6, the mostly played move. Defend the pawn, and as I said, we are playing f3. Now, before he takes f3, this will be our main move, which you might face pretty often alongside bishop f5. Now there is e5 move too. This is a little bit trickier because we don't have queen h5, and I mean still a slight blunder, I would say. I mean, according to Stockfish, the evaluation goes from like minus 0.8 to plus 0.8. I'm not so sure, but something along that line. And we have to know how to punish it. So we first take this pawn and allowing black to take our queen, and this is what they're gonna do. So we can take with the knight and then try to castle later, but actually king takes is a better, for the reason that we are controlling the d5 square, which is actually quite important. And now where can the knight go? The most obvious one is d7, and then we play e6. This is important, so they have to take, otherwise we are taking with a check, and the pawn is also covered by our bishop. So they take, we take. Now notice there is a pin, so the knight can't go back to f6. They usually take here because, you know, this one queen, so we recapture back. And the mostly played move in this position is knight b6 actually, which is a blunder because of bishop b3. We don't want to trade, we simply drop the bishop back, and there are not too many games on, for instance, Leach's database, but most people play bishop g4, and after rook e1 they have to go king d8 actually. But if they try to block with like something like this, we go here, forcing them to make this ugly looking move. And now king d2, as the arrow shows, surprising move. You might thought, okay, we maybe try to artificially castle, but actually not. Our intention is simply to double the rooks and win the game. So this is quite important. That's why this move is not that great actually. If they start with something like bishop e7, we simply continue our natural development, and we will have an easy game ahead of us. So this e5 is way better than the previous e5. Just saying. Now we are going into this main position, which arises like around 300,000 times according to Leach's database. By the way, guys, I have to mention, you can't find this on Chessable, because on the bloody Chessable no one is gonna recommend you some obscure gambits. I mean, they are scared to drop that engine evaluation like below like 0, you know, favorable for black. But this gambit is so powerful that you will simply enjoy it, trust me. So knight f3, what we're gonna discuss? Bishop g4. Guess what? Oopsie doopsie, we sacrificed the queen and checkmate. Unfortunately, they will probably realize and then go e6. No, that's not gonna happen. They will probably realize and go back to first to h5, and then we sacrifice the queen. They think they are stopping the checkmate. Okay, this is very obvious. So the only move here is the bishop e6. We can take, I mean, white is definitely an advantage, but there's a cleaner way rather than going for this cheeky little move. We simply take on f7 and then pre-move knight e5. Even if they go here, we can pre-move knight e5. I mean, I remember once Bishop g4. I was playing a blitz game on chess.com, and I got paired against a woman grandmaster from Canada, and she played this move like ridiculous. She was like 2300, but how can you play bishop g4 here? And if you're like even like below 2000, I mean, this is the second most popular move in this position, which is absolutely insane. The first one is e6, also not a promising move. So bishop g4, take, we will come to that later. And the best move here is bishop f5, but first let's start with the most popular move, which is e6. So f3, take, e6. So this is strategically a bad move for various reasons. It will be difficult to develop this bishop. Meanwhile, before they develop their pieces, we will launch a kingside attack pretty easily. So let me show you how the game will continue. We simply castle. And if black wants to copy our mentality, oh, I will play bishop e7 castle, you know, Gucci Wonchuchi. I will have my pipe, and you know, it's simply we're up on my pawn. Bishop e7. Queen e1. Great move. We want to simply bring the queen to h4, drop the bishop back to d3, and they don't see any fear for going into this, you know. After a short castle, we simply play bishop d3, and the guys, the win rate here in 2.5 thousand games, it is 75% for white. It's insane, but also actually our moves are so simple. However, we have to be a little bit precise for some move order tricks. You don't need to memorize, you simply have to understand the concept. So we want to play queen h4 and bishop g5, and all this pressure black will crack. So let's start with knight b to d7, which is the logical move. I mean, knight b to d7, maybe b6, maybe c5. You know, we will see one by one. Knight b to d7, queen h4. What else? I mean, a6, bang, gg. I'm not kidding. Ancients also approves bishop to a6 is completely winning. 350 games, white won 91%. So h6 is not an option. Let's say c5, trying to strike in the center, looks logical. And now we play bishop g5, we don't touch that. I have to mention, the most important sniper on the board is bishop, guys. So if we take, black is not gonna take with a check and then, you know, and then maybe go back. They will simply capture with the knight and then force us to leave that diagonal. This is the last thing we want in this particular position. So we don't take, we play bishop g5. How can black continue? For instance, if they take, which is obviously a mistake. Again, h6, simply take. If c takes d4, what we are doing? Oh, everything is falling, you know. I mean, they have to take. I'm not showing like if king moves, something like that, you know. So we take, they go for the pin, we simply don't care. 94, they can give some discover check, we send an applause. Or if they try to defend their rook, it is made in 10 or 12 or whatever, knight f to g5, and it is unstoppable. Notice how our rook is also looking at the f6 square, so this will be lights out. What else? So c5 is a c takes d4 is a tremendously bad move. Let's say rook e8 might be clever because, you know, they want to bring the knight back to f8 to put some extra protection on the h7 square. We simply bring the other rook. I mean, knight f8. Now we can take, because we are very much scared for knight takes c5. Now we allow this, why not? And then simply go back, knight e5. I mean, everything is crushing here. Knight e4, double exclam. because if they go something like this, I mean, absolutely simply killing the game. I mean, you can find all the checkmating patterns on your own. I don't want to get into some details. Let's roll the tape back. So we have seen the c5 move, which is tremendously eventually losing. Bishop g5. Now they can go rook e8. We have seen this. Without c5, what else? Okay, so there is they can start with c5 without knight b to d7, which is logical. We still play queen h4, and if they take, now we introduce this bishop g5 threat. For instance, it is up to your creativity, because you know we are threatening this. I mean, g6 is frankly ridiculous. Now we win the pawn back, and then they want to trade. Now we go back again. If they take, I mean, they have to eventually play h5 to stop mate, and then that will weaken their king that much. Knight c6 is logical, because you know, they're bringing extra protection to their bishop. Knight takes d5. I mean, very pleasant position. Black's king is so weak. This is also completely winning. But so we have seen knight b to d7, c5. There's a great move here, which is we have to be a little bit careful. So bishop d3, b6 black plays. Okay, you might think, oh, bishop b7, knight b to d7, what does it change? Well, if we go here queen h4, black wants to play bishop a6. Very clever move, trying to exchange the light square bishop, which is a great part of our attack. So we don't want to allow that, and if you move the knight, we are losing an exchange. Why would we like to lose an exchange? So if they start with b6, we play this knight e4 move, which is actually quite clever, just to face bishop a6 with c4. No, thank you, grazie mille, we say, and we don't want trade. So what else? If they simply trade and then play f5, we can drop the queen back. Now there is another weakness, something like this, and then or c5, the game might continue. I think we would love to prefer this position as well. So I think the best option is this one. And now we go queen h4. Notice, guys, we play knight e4 to anticipate bishop a6. So now we go queen h4, so that in case they take, I mean, our queen is under attack, but now we are threatening checkmate. And if they play g6, it is also very weakening. I think bishop a6, etc. will also bring us the victory. Now knight f6, queen h4, we have the same setup. Bishop g5 is coming. Absolutely pleasant position. So this b6 is actually quite an important nuance that we have to watch out. Okay, so let's say black is a little bit experienced, advanced, quote-unquote player, and they see, okay, if I castle, you know, I will get checkmated. So how they can avoid it? Let's say they start with knight b to d7, and then we still play queen e1, bishop e7. But if we play queen h4, well, black didn't castle yet, so that's quite an important moment we have to remember. That's why we start with bishop g5. Very clever move. If they play a short castle, we have transposed into what we have seen. I mean, something like a6, we simply take, etc. We have seen this. So we start with bishop g5. If they go knight d5, queen g3, quite important. Also, for instance, if we go bishop d3, now c5 comes, you know. We have to, that's why we are starting with bishop g5. And if you take knight takes, quite annoying, and black hasn't castled yet. So we shouldn't, and bishop d3 is like bringing our attention so clear that we look like a fool, you know. We don't want that. We want to be a little bit clever in this position, and we start with bishop g5. If they play a6, what are we doing? We're simply dropping the bishop back, guys. And if they castle down, we are going queen h4, and we are ready to sacrifice, first bring the bishop back, you know, all these things that we have seen. So bishop g5, if knight d5, now the very important move, queen g3. If they take, oopsie, we are first taking this. Notice we are also covering this check so that they don't have an intermezzo check. Let's say c takes d5. What is the point? What are we gaining? Knight takes g5. Knight f6. Very clever. Bishop b5. Why is this check important? I mean, they can go to f8, but I think no most natural looking move is this one. And it is also a blunder because of this double exclamation mark move. Knight takes e6, bishop can't take. Let's say they take, queen takes g7. This is hanging, this is hanging. It will be simply lights out. So this is a clever version, for instance, if they try to avoid this queen h4, bishop d3, bishop g5, sacrifice everything and then bring the tall out of us. I think that's all about it in this harmless looking e6 move, which is, I think, a strategically, a positionally bad move because you are simply planting down that bishop on that c8 square, the initial square. All right, so where to jump? Knight f6. Let's go for the conservative guys who try to hold on to their pawn. Bishop f5. I mean, I have sometimes played something like very aggressive with like g4 here, and hoping for h5, and then play that position because, you know, I can win the pawn back. But honestly, a6 here is, I think, played pretty clean, and then they will drop the bishop back. So I don't like it, and I'm weakening my king a little bit. So there is a much more pleasant setup that we can play instead of the g4 h4 stuff. We simply take the pawn. Well, according to Stockfish, this move is slightly better, but I would love seeing this move. I think this, I mean, no one wants to park their way from with their bishop pair so early for no good reason, but I think this is practically better. I'll show you why. So after knight takes e4, queen f3. Oh, dangerous looking move. We are attacking the bishop, and the bishop moves f7 pawn. So let's say first blunder, knight takes c3. Take. Black king. I mean, I have to show this is also mate. So we will enjoy our pleasant position. So knight takes c3 is the big blunder. Don't forget bishop takes f7. A freaking primitive animal looking queen takes d4. This is like absolutely ridiculous. Now we still take, and then take knight f6, knight f3. You know, our position is absolutely buzzing. Every thread is on the board. So I think they will mostly find the knight d6 move, which might take a couple of seconds in online chess. That was my experience. It defends their bishop, attacks our bishop. I think Stockfish prefers this one, but I like bishop b3, keeping this sniper on the board. And then let's say black plays e6. So this is gonna be our setup: knight e2, bishop f4, long castle, and push the pawns. Bishop e7, the natural looking move, is slightly inaccurate because now g4 h4 is actually very dangerous. Let's say they start with trying to generate some play. We can even play a4, I guess, and then g4 h4, very pleasant position. You know, I mean, they can't take the pawn, g5 coming. Stockfish prefers the knight d to d7 before, and then trying to immediately bring this knight back to f6. We will still play our same setup, and then, you know, maybe they will not allow g4 so easily, so we have to waste some time with like h3 g4, but still pleasant position, I would say. So this was all about knight takes e4. Now let's briefly look at this one. We can go queen knight f3 as well, but queen e2 is clean. I think queen takes d4 is a very futuristic without any development. So let's say knight f6, knight f3, e6, and then again the mostly the same setup, castle, and then I mean, we can play any move, I guess. Let's say they castle, simply g4. We are sacrificing that pawn. I mean, look at that, completely crashing. Not the crushing, maybe is too much. I have to mention, but you know, I mean, if they move, bishop a6 coming. So this was all about this conservative knight f6 bishop f5 setup, which is very easy to play. Now let's jump into the infamous blunder bishop g4. Holy moly, and I will tell you, you will face it quite bunch of times, like not like one time out of 20 games. You will face it bunch of times. Take. I even here I can see on the right side 2400 rapid rate guy played this move against me last week. Take here. So king e8 is better because king g8, you know, we first take and then queen, if queen comes to e6, it is checkmate. But I will show you some small details. For instance, if they go king e8, we can easily short castle. But if they go king g8 and then we take, let's say they go knight b to d7, I mean, we don't need to castle short immediately. Because I remember I've lost a couple of games. Even I mean, you can say, how can you lose this, you bloody moron? But like, they pushed h5. I don't know. The best move here is queen e2, simply going for checkmate. And after something like this, I mean, you can play knight e5 and then take. We love to actually castle long, because I remember I lost the game something like this, and then they pushed h5, brought the rook here, knight comes to g4, and then there comes some sort of a counterplay. So we have to watch out. But if king goes to, for instance, e8, we simply take. I mean, if knight b to d7, now we can short castle. I don't know, something like queen b6, take, knight a4, c4, etc. And we will probably win the game. So this was all about this bishop g4 blunder, which is the second most popular move in this position. Now let's jump into the best version of the setup after e4, c6, d4. Bishop c4, knight f6, f3, take, bishop f5. So they see our threat. And then bring the bishop to f5. Now we are short castling, and then e6. Now very sneaky move, knight g5. We are creating some threats immediately with this natural looking, with this odd looking knight g5. Well, a6. We can win the piece if they take. Forkista. Same problem. Take. I actually prefer this one, but Stockfish slightly prefers this one. You can play anything both key, like +3, +5 advantage. So this bishop can't develop. So what to do? The best move here is bishop g6. Now it looks like the dust has settled. No, bishop takes e6, wins above 60%. And now they take, we take. Now let's flip the board for a second, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. So the queen is under attack, queen has to move. And then after the queen moves, we will probably pin it. And if you want to block the pin, the g7 pawn is hanging. Like, I would play this position with white every day, every night. So first things first. The queen has to stay on one of these squares, on d7 or d6. If the queen stays on this diagonal, you know it's a blunder, right? Any other move doesn't make any sense, like something like this, simply this. So, queen c7 even we can take, maybe, frankly. So, let's look at some options one by one. As I said, queen e7, let's flip the board as well. Queen e7, simply rook e1, GG, why not? And then, I don't know, for instance, something like this, queen lost, queen b4, they can try, bishop f4, we don't rush with knight c7. I lost also some games with immediately going for a knight c7. That knight is so annoying, guys, and after we take, our knight might get probably trapped. So don't forget, we already sacked the piece. So okay, this queen e7 is nonsense. Let's look at queen b6, which is the third most popular move. So if this queen lands on like a5 or b6, we simply go for queen e2. Dangerous pin. Very dangerous pin. King f7 looks natural, right? Unfortunately, this leads to some checkmate. Mate in 3, king f7 is completely lost. Knight b to d7. I have faced this move one time, and here I gave this check, which is actually a mistake. And after king d8, take, I lose my knight, and don't forget we already sacked the piece. So there is a cold-blooded move in this position, which is bishop d2. Why it is cold-blooded? Well, let's see, there is a random move. We go knight a4 and the queen is trapped. But still, it's like +2 according to Stockfish. I mean, you can... I don't need to mention something like this. And then bishop a6, queen coming here, rook can come. So easy to play. And I have to mention, after they move the queen in this position, they mostly play like bishop e7, blundering this pawn, and then eventually going to f7. Okay, let's make a random move, something like this, and then they go here, and then I go here, and then we can even go to h5. You know, utilizing lots of pins, and then, for instance, this leads to some unfortunate things along the line. Or even we can give this check, and and we will win probably the whole army. But this was one of the best moves, queen d6. I will show you in a couple of seconds later. Queen d6, queen d7 are similar, and after this move, as you have seen, our move is bishop g5. We are not touching that knight because we want to eliminate that knight and then play rook e1. That is important, because if you don't eliminate that knight and play rook e1 next, they can block it with the knight. Because notice, knight and bishop are covering the e4 square. So we have seen bishop e7, knight takes g7, which bishop e7 is the most played move here. If they take with the queen, bishop takes f6, and if they take with the pawn, which they can, we simply go here and win the queen. Well, frankly, this position, according to computers, it is equal, but only if they play king d8. And the 65 games have reached this position. Only one time a player played king d1, and that player is above 2500. It was a blitz game on chess. So king f7, queen g3. I mean, it will be not that easy to convert, but still, upper queen. I mean, black has basically 3 pieces for queen, but we will have a great chance to convert this one. So this queen d7 and queen d6 are similar. We simply play bishop g5, and actually if they take, they have to play king d7, not an easy move to find, and then we simply drop the bishop back. I mean, we sack the knight, we sack the bishop, sorry, but I mean, I would prefer playing this position with white, and playing king d7 in this position is not easy, I would say. So this was all about this beloved bishop takes e6 and then knight e6. I just wanted to point out, I didn't tell you. I hope some of you already closed the video before reaching this point. There is this great move. Give an applause, because it is a fantastic move. And now, unfortunately, however we take, I mean, the king will be relatively in safety. And you know, after something like this, I mean, we don't have that much of a promising attack. I mean, we can give some animal checks, but h6 is a great move. However, I have to mention, like, at the probability of you seeing h6 in this position, there are 3000 games, and h6 has been played only 2%. among 3,000 games, only 60 people have played a6. I mean, the risk, but it should be rewarding, and this is definitely the case. So that was all about this lowly bishop takes e6, knight takes e6 idea. And last but not least, let's see how to deal with this gambit at engine level. So before recording this video, I played against Lila OneNote, the famous chess engine, some games of how Lila OneNote is basically, by the way, playing on their intuition, zero calculation. So they actually play opening pretty well, but then do some calculation errors, blunders, misses mate in one, which I've seen before. But still, and they played till some point a perfect setup. So bishop c4, knight f6, and now we are playing f3. So black's best move in this position is actually, guys, b5 move. Well, we don't want to go back, and you know, we want to keep that bishop on that diagonal. Unfortunately, black plays e6 and our bishop is a little bit stuck. Like, they block their bishop as well, but maybe they will develop something like this and then push a d5, a c5 later, and then open up their bishop. Unfortunately, we can't be that hopeful about our bishop. And there was one game, for instance, that between Nigel Short and Evgeny Barev played in 2000, and then he played this setup. So by the way, still after this, some people might get tempted. I have seen this idea, for instance, and then they blundered that pawn, which is totally ridiculous. They don't need to play a5 here. They can simply play e6. And well, if you take on e4, there comes b4, and then if you have like go here, we will blunder this pawn. I mean, this is a thematic idea in these positions. Unfortunately, black takes, and if you take, there comes bishop b4, quite an annoying move, I think, engine-esque. Yeah, slightly unpleasant, but this is very less likely that you will see this b5 idea followed by e6. I mean, if you have time, maybe you'll figure it out. But in faster time patrols, it's ridiculous to find b5, e6, and then, you know, just trying to punish this thing. I think, by the way, Lila played this move against me, and then I played a4, and then they took, which was a mistake, and the game continued. But you know, I had my play. So this was all about below the phone Hennig Gambit, guys. You're not gonna place b5 at any time. You will most probably see either bishop f5 or they will take, and then you can take later. Thank you so much for watching so far. If you have stayed, I mean, this is the only thing that I play against Caro-Kann, and it served me well. I hope you will get some great dubs after this move, for instance. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next videos. Muchas gracias.